And uh-oh. Are we live, Miss Kenya?
We are live, sir. We are live.
Ooh, I like that voice you just did.
Oh,
Everybody's like, who's that
thank you.
speaking?
Thank
Miss Kenya over there. Hey, welcome everybody. I know everybody's used to tuning in to the Cat and Quezzy show, but guess what? We've done a little bit of rebranding. We added a new addition to the group, to the crew. Miss Kenya Asa, we officially launched that last week, but we also revamped the title of the show. So now it's not the Cat and Quezzy show. It's anything can happen, right? Because, in our daily lives, things happen and they come out of nowhere sometimes, right?
you. Yes, they do.
Today we have an amazing episode for y'all. It's almost a year. Has it been the year anniversary of COVID yet? COVID's
Yes.
been out for the entire year, right?
Yes.
So not knowing this time last year what we were going to experience in the next 365 days, but a lot has happened, y'all. So with that in mind, today's topic, we're going to be talking about the three ways, how you can, 3 ways to relieve stress during COVID. And Miss Kenya has brought a special guest with her today. Can you tell us a little bit about your special guest, Miss Kenya?
Yes, I can. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my friend, Nicolia Gooding. She is a podcaster. She's a social worker. She's a community activist. She is a public speaker. She is a singer and a magnificent singer and a champion for women to heal and own the success of their relationships. Her motto, which I love, is healed women equals healed communities. And how true
right
is
there.
that? Right. Truer words.
I think off here just a second ago, I was telling everybody she needs to make a t-shirt that says that, like, and have everybody wearing that. Because once we heal our ladies, the community is going to change, y'all. They the backbone of what goes on in every household.
We know.
How you doing, Miss
We are
Nicolia?
aware.
I am well, and thank you both for having me on this show today. I am so excited to share with you and the audience everything that I know that will help reduce stress in everyone's lives.
Yeah, so from your introduction, it seems like you wear many hats. Like you do a lot for the community, right? So I was going to say this past year, with COVID going on and everything. So you're born and raised in the Bay Area?
No, I am from North Carolina by way of New Jersey.
What brought you out to the Bay Area?
Absolutely. After graduating from grad school in DC, Howard University, big HU,
Shout out Howard.
I wanted a different experience, and I had never been to the West Coast. So they came to my school recruiting, and I came out here and started this job in 2001 with the Mrs. Kenya Asa. We started together doing this work.
We did.
And,
we did.
Yeah, so that's what brought me out here, and then creating a life for myself and just not being as close to family, but having to forge my own way through is what kept me out here. And then I got married and 2 kids later, and we still here.
Yeah, 20 years later, you a resident now. Like you born and bred in the Bay Area now. It's running through your veins.
Basically.
So before we just get all the way into the topic, talking about stress, because we've all been through it this last year, dealing with COVID and everything. What are some things that you've experienced, to release some of your own personal stress during these times of COVID? Like, what are some things that you've experienced?
Before we say that, Kat, can we talk about who brought us here today? What is your talk about your business? Who are we sponsored by? Who are we brought here by? Can you hear me? Are you frozen?
Are you talking to me or are you talking
to
Miss?
I'm talking to you.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Miss Nicolia's business.
We are, but I want to know who brought us here today, who's sponsoring us, who's sponsoring us here today.
Yeah, one of the sponsors obviously is Heal the Hood. Heal the Hood's mission is to go into our inner city communities and educate, motivate, and inspire those to to live a healthier life one day at a time, y'all. And we're also sponsored by Alignment Agency. Brother Kwesi is going to be on shortly. He's running behind schedule. But we are also sponsored by Miss Kenya Asa. Can you tell us a little bit about what you got going on, Miss Kenya?
Absolutely. I am Ruby Envy Wellness, and we support our clients in their journey towards holistic health and wellness. So that's what we do over here.
We got a lot of healing on this channel today.
We do, especially today. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So back to my first question. I'm just going to throw you. We want to get the audience wants to get to know Miss Nicolia today, so we can better relate. You know, I feel like as we heal ourselves within, we heal our community around us.
Oh, yes.
Right. And this is what this channel is all about. You know, we're all going through our own healing process, learning different things about ourselves, and being able to create a community where we can talk about certain topics like stress. You know, sometimes in our community, those are like no topics. Nobody wants to talk about the stress and things that they're dealing with, where it develops into other health issues, you know, a long time. So during these 365 days of COVID, was it ever a time that you felt, you know, stressed out due to work or the environment, or, you know, not being able to go to the gym or any of those kind of things?
Absolutely. I believe
so you're human.
Everyone has dealt with some stress during these times of COVID, if not just for the fear of contracting the disease, the virus. You know, loved ones and people that we know, people we shared space with, who attended our weddings and all of our events and have been to our house, passed on. Like,
Yes.
it was definitely scary and shocking at first. And one of the biggest stressors for me was my little kids were in my house all day, every day for at least the first 90 days.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are the little ones?
Yes. My son is 7, soon to be 8, second grader, and my daughter is still in preschool. She's 4. She'll be 5 in September.
Okay, so my youngest son is 7 going on 8. He's going to be 8 on the 24th of this month.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. So you know exactly.
I got 4 boys running around this house.
Okay, well, I'm going to shut up right there. Wow. That stress of having the children there every day, the stress of trying to navigate the internet and the Zoom connection and the child's learning of Zoom and their independence and how they want to break away. I don't need you to show me. And thinking school was over when the Zoom class was over because it was only an hour. And then trying to get them to do all this work. The stress of the judgment on ourselves for not having them complete the packet within the week. What are you doing with your day that your child can't finish their work? Who are you? What kind of parent are you? Cooking,
Judgment.
feeding them, going to the store, making sure they get vitamin D. Oh my gosh, what about my job? I'm supposed to be working. My boss is looking for this thing. It's unprofessional to have the meetings while I'm at home because the kids are in the background and running into the room. I mean, there's just so much judgment we even place on ourselves just to do what we believe is the right thing and to split ourselves so finely with no escape. That was the big part.
Right.
No escape.
Right.
I used to break away and have a cocktail with a girlfriend after work. That ain't happening now. So what's my outlet? I need an outlet, somebody. Okay, and it just like the walls are just closing in. So all of that said, that was one of the major stressors. The judgments on myself, the judgments on my relationship, the judgments of my parenting, the judgments of everybody. And how is she doing it so well? What is she doing?
Because she's really not. She's not. That's the thing. There's the perception and then there's the reality. Because we all want to look like we've got it together. And then you look at the next person and you think to yourself, well, that person can do it. How come I can't? And women really, really have a tough time with that, especially moms judging themselves against other moms. Like, how come she can have all these cute little desserts and doodads and cupcakes and all this other stuff, and I'm just trying to slap some peanut butter on a piece of bread? And you know what I mean? And so there was no end. This year there was no end. Hi, Kwesi.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, come on, you just want to
I'm
make a special appearance like that. You just wanted to
I
pop
guess
on
so.
screen in the
Not
midst of
really,
the conversation.
Actually, I have an amazing story. I'll save it for the end of the episode. But thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you, Nicolia Gooding, as well. I wasn't here for the introduction, obviously, but my name is Kwesi. As you can see, I'm one of the hosts of the show. I'm very honored to have you here speaking to the people. But what did I join in on? Where are we at?
Oh, we just getting to know Miss Nicolia. See, every time I'm going to give you that wink and look, because I messed up on her name when we first started. I said, I'm not going to mess up during the show now.
Doing good, doing great.
We just going over, the stresses that we all endured over the last 365 days of COVID, right? It's been a year.
Absolutely.
It's been a whole year that we had to make these adjustments in our lives. And, especially as an entrepreneur, just speaking from my point of view, like my business was like this, right? Starting to see the green, been doing this the last 5-6 years. I'm like, oh yes. And then COVID hit, and then, oh no, it's time to revamp your business again.
Yeah.
Now you can't train from the gyms. You can't do what you kind of got your expertise around. Now you have to rebrand yourself and start going in a different direction, being able to provide online classes, right? Something that I wasn't familiar with, but as an entrepreneur, you have to shift with the times. So making those adjustments and going through those stressful times of what if, right? What if this doesn't work? What if this online thing, doesn't pan out to be the way I thought it was going to be?
And the beauty of that, though, Kat, is that your business, being fitness and stuff like that, is so good at helping people manage their stress, because we haven't been able to go to the gym. Some of us are in our homes. We don't have any equipment, we don't have even barbells or anything like that. So the fact that you did your part in kind of helping the community through what you're doing, because if we don't have a physical outlet, then it can really, really take a toll. It can take
think about the people
toll.
that couldn't make the transition, just for the simple fact that some of them lost their job in the midst of what happened with COVID as well, right?
So many
Even those that wanted to do it weren't capable because of the financial restrictions now that this environment has created for us, right? And that level of stress, like I'm used to going to the gym all the time to be a stress reliever. Now I don't have an outlet, just like Nicolia was saying. She was like, I'm used to going and hang out with my girls after work and kicking it and having these conversations and being able to have a stress reliever. And now we don't have those things, right? So how do we deal with that? How do we deal with waking up and seeing our spouse every day where we don't get that 8-hour break sometimes to kind of just reset and go right back at it?
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted her on here, because she is a mother and she is a wife and she's also a professional, and she has so many things, as you heard from her bio, that I felt like if anybody knew a little bit about how to handle all of those things, and also being in the social work industry, it would be her. And so I love what you said about, Nicolia, about the judgment piece, because I think that so many of us, and I know I said women because my business is female based, is woman based, but men have to do that too. And then when we are, when we're in that yin yang, of having to deal with each other, you've seen so many couples that have had really bad problems during this period. Yeah, I mean, so much. And when you're in a situation where there's domestic violence, there's been and then you couldn't escape this year. You couldn't get out of the house. So it's been really, really rough. It's been really rough for a lot of people.
And I'd like to hear from our guests, where, as a beginner, right? Like as a man coming up, not really hearing other men talk about self-care or talk about like mental wellness, like where do beginners start in their journey, or what do you recommend?
Well, that's an interesting question because I find myself all the time encouraging my husband to connect with his guy friends, at least the ones that I'm aware of. Connection is so much more prevalent for me than it seems to be for him. And I look for ways to assist him in creating the space, like, hey, I'll watch the kids while you go. Football season is really a good time because the fellas usually get together during football season. But outside of that, since we had kids, he gave up bike riding, so he's not really riding like he used to with the group. So I definitely try to encourage him to take those breaks that he needs. He likes to take naps. I'm not a napper, so it's not something I really relate to, but I encourage him to take those breaks as a man. And I try my best to check in with him a lot, just to say what a great job I see he's doing. He's worked from home full time since the pandemic. And so he's with my son all the time.
Wow.
I'm only there a couple days a week. He's there with him all the time. So I try to encourage him. Hey, do you want a cocktail? Do you need anything? And I really, honestly, in all truthfulness, I really love it when men are connected to men. You can see the difference in the recharge that I get all the time because I won't let mine go. But I want that for my husband. It's really challenging sometimes, and it's heavy on my heart because I want him to feel as amazing as he is in our family. He deserves to feel like he's on top of the world. And I just listened to the episode about balance, between the group of you, the three of you. And when I think about that, I think that I want him to feel as amazing as he is. And I look for signs. And part of it is that we're having polar opposite conversations because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for him. And he says he's recharged by being with the family. He's recharged by spending time with us. It blows my mind that could be true because it's not my reality.
Right.
He's recharged by it. So I've had to leave space. So to answer your question, giving space to a woman with a partner or a partner with a partner, however people show up in the world, having space and giving space to those ways that each of us show up that's different and unrelatable to the onlooker, like honoring that space and really creating more of that, more opportunities for him to be with the family. He's so happy when I go to the park with him and the kids. It's like not my favorite place to be, but of course I do it for my kids, but like it really makes my husband happy. And so I have to pay attention and listen to that. This is what makes him happy, Nick, not going necessarily to spend time the way you would. So anyways, being more mindful, being more respectful, being more honoring of the space that people say they're in. That would be my answer.
Good. Yeah, this is good. And I have a question for you, like on that same subject, because I just got married 6 months ago and my wife and I are, we're learning. People say like there's not that much of a transition. It's a big transition from dating, being engaged to marriage. It's huge, right? Stop telling your friends it's not that big of a transition.
Yes. What is that?
Club. Everybody's doing it. Come on, Quezzy. It's not a transition.
Oh yeah.
It's different. It's beautiful. Like it's way better than being single. I can tell you that, but it's also a challenge. Every day it's work, right? And we're currently in that phase of like self-care and having those conversations about what that means to each of us, because she's very similar in the way that she recharges from being around like her girlfriends, her sister group, right? And me too, but me personally, as I've started in this journey of entrepreneurship, right, like really going against the grain and doing things that other people think is weird, right? And me looking at other people and thinking what you're doing is weird, right? So it's just like a little bit of a disconnect. So me, especially as a man, I haven't been as connected with some of my male friends, right? Especially the ones who aren't entrepreneurs, who might still be working a job and like going in a certain direction, right? And like our conversations are completely different, right? So I would ask you this, and I'm not asking you to speak for all men, but somebody in that situation, right, who might feel a little isolated right now for whatever the reason is, like what can they do to recharge without having to go out and seek new groups of people?
Ooh.
Mm.
Now, was
That's
that a
good.
question or was that a question?
Mhm.
We're gonna challenge you today, Miss Nicolia.
Mhm.
So, a person seeking connection, but doing it in a way that doesn't have them pilgrimage out to find it.
Yeah.
That's really good. Well, based on what I've heard and listening to your episodes, you happen to be doing a lot of that already, which is centering, getting to know yourself, knowing your own boundaries. Kenya talked a lot about that in the balance episode. Knowing your own boundaries, knowing what it is that you're looking for. And really, based on what I've heard of you as well, you really leave a lot to the centering that you do, your normal, everyday, daily practices, really have you honed in a way that allow you to move through life the way that you're doing so seamlessly. And you sound like you really enjoy every aspect of what you're learning and how you're growing. So those are very concrete ways in which you are recharging yourself, independent and within yourself. So the connection to your wife permeating outwardly from you, the conversations you are having, I would imagine you're feeling sustained and energized by these conversations and engagements and interactions, because the piece that I hear when you speak, the piece that I hear when you share a counter experience than what's common or what the two co-hosts you have are expressing, the peace and calm that I hear all tell me that you are centered, completely aware, and moving forward. So all of that for me, you're doing everything that the individual should be doing, which is starting with self.
Right.
Starting with self, and then you're going to move out. So your engagements will come there. These people, things, all that stuff comes to you because you create it, you manifest it. I can just tell. And I'm just telling you, I just listened to a few episodes in anticipation of today. And this is what I get from you, and just how laser focused you are and how you've blocked everything else out in pursuit of what it is that you intention upon in life. And then you picked a partner to do that with, which is the beauty of all life, because you now have an amazing woman that is behind, beside, and all around you, covering you every single day. So you have the gift that God, however you call him, intended for every man to have to flourish in this world. You have it right now. So you would not be the best example to use. Answering this question.
Was I the only one thinking
I was going to say, for people that aren't, have that structure in their life right now.
Right. Well, yeah. And I want to piggyback on what she said, because one thing that I think people really need to understand is that your way is your way, and that there is no shame in finding your peace and finding your center.
Everybody wants, due to social media and so many different outlets, people want to do other people's way.
Yes. Oh my God.
That's
and
the issue.
It's so
they
crazy.
don't want to figure out their way. They want to figure out your way. Oh,
because
just like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's hard. A lot of people, it's very difficult to take a look at themselves and their own issues and their own needs, especially during these tough times. So we're already dealing with COVID and not being able to see our loved ones as much as we would like to, etc. So we've got that, and then we don't really want the additional stressor of having to look deep within. We've talked about this before. We
haven't been taught to look within, though.
That's right. That's exactly what I was about to say, because we have talked about that. We need a whole episode on our community and mental health services. We need a whole episode on that.
Write it down.
Right. And so that is, I love what she said about that, because here's the thing. We don't all find our stress relief in the same way. Right. And so if you're a homebody, you're gonna find it more at home. My husband is like that. he gardens all the time. He doesn't really want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
so it hasn't been much of a change for him.
Well,
Right.
yeah, no, not really. I mean, a little bit, but he's not bothered by it. I'm like Nicolia. I want to be at my favorite cocktail spots with my girls, you know, and losing that has been
Nice.
probably one of the biggest
That's
issues
tough.
during this time.
That's
You
tough.
know,
You're
yeah,
strong, Kenya. You
yeah.
got
Oh
it.
no, I'm trying.
We believe
you
You
know.
ain't trying, you're doing.
Thank you.
You're doing.
So yeah, so we have to, if I can say one thing about this time, this last year, a little bit over a year, is that for those of us who are interested in getting to know ourselves better, this has definitely been the time. For those of us who are interested in seeing what we're made of, seeing what kind of grit we have, seeing how resilient we are, you know, and seeing, like you said, Kat, about business, you know, we've all had to shift. God knows I have, you know, and so it's been an opportunity to really see who you really are.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
And
Wow.
I'll just throw out there, Kwesi, just to answer the question for the non-Kwesi individuals
Yeah.
that are
Yes.
listening. I believe you all just said it again. It's really finding what works for you.
Yeah.
I despise people throwing around terms like, for kids, get a babysitter. Self-care, you know, there's this blanket term of self-care, and people have their ideas of what self-care is, but it is very different and very unique for everyone. So it really bothers me when people say that, because the things that it's caused me to have to really get clear about what my self-care looks like. I like to plan. I like to journal. I like to imagine my life. I like to plan an episode from a podcast. That makes me happy. And my nails are not done. They're not. And I'm probably not going to go to the shop. And even if I do, I'm probably not going to go on a rotation that people think self-care looks like.
Right.
And so the more I get okay with allowing people to have those types of conversations and letting them roll off my back, the more I get centered on what works for me. And this is what I'll say, just regarding my healed women equals healed communities. The reality is the inner work is hard. It is not sexy. It is not alluring. It is not red lipstick and beautiful hair. It's not
dirty.
a wedding
It can
day.
be dirty.
Okay, it's grimy. It's nasty. It's that snotty cry. It's all of that stuff. And those are the pieces that we need to get to, because Kat, you find it all the time. I say I want to look different, but am I willing to show up to do the work? So the work, the real work is what will have you move from desire to action. These are the healing parts that need to happen. That where Nicolia knows Nicolia, and I know what my limits are, and I strive towards, and I have a coach, Cat Fitness. I have a coach that says, hey, you know, you said you wanted this. Let's work towards this. These are the steps. You know, and how many times do we do that, Kenya? Let's get together, and then get together means just throw it in the air. Let's get together. Let's get together. Nick, when are you available? Let's calendar right now. When you taking it to the next level. And that's what this podcast, that's what this show is doing. It's not just saying heal the hood. You're saying, what is it that you need to do to heal? Let us help you. Let us walk with you. Let us do these things together. That's where the healing begins. Because sometimes I'm so overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. And when I don't know what to do, I do nothing. But the moment you call me and say, girl, I know you said the dishes stress you out. Talk to me while you're stacking these dishes. So let me tell you what Bob did the other day, right? And we're talking and I'm doing that thing. You've just partnered with me to success for myself. And that's what I feel like most of us are doing in life, throwing around terms, throwing around concepts,
Right.
shattering. And then if I'm not strong enough or have the emotional fortitude to withstand, I feel it as stress, because now I'm not like you, who
Right.
has this beautiful lamp over there, and your house looks super together right now, and I know what mine looks like. So guess what?
Yeah.
We can't even talk. This sea between us separates us until you show me that you're
Right.
just like me, or you were where I am.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
So anyways, I'll stop on that.
Oh,
Thank
no,
you.
I
I
was going
love
to shout
that.
out
That
Miss
was
Miss
amazing.
Rosie. She
Yes.
said the act of self-care is not a one size fits all, and that's
Wow.
Absolutely.
exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about right there.
yeah.
Thank you,
Right.
Miss Rosie, for commenting, and for those
Yeah.
that are tuned in, because we do have viewers on here, making sure that you're dropping some comments. We want to get this conversation going throughout the community, right?
Right.
The more that we interact with y'all, the more that we can answer these questions, because it's a healing process for all of us, right?
Mhm.
And we want to know, what stresses have you experienced during this 365 days of COVID? Like
Right.
what life changes have you experienced that you had to make adjustments and had to learn about yourself, right?
Mhm.
Because a lot of things happened within this last year that you might have not known about yourself, right? And then through that process, you continue to grow, right? We find the things that we love, the things that we dislike, the things that we can tolerate. All those things apply to the experience that we had to go through within this last year with COVID,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
And we've seen the
Mhm.
worst of people too on on social
Oh, yeah.
media, YouTube. People, I just saw I believe it was a something on YouTube where a woman had a complete meltdown in a Target over because she was not someone who wears masks, and the mask setup, the mask display just sent her completely over the top, which
Oh,
for
wow.
normal, I have no doubt that her normal behavior in life is not to see a display of something she doesn't like and start tearing it apart, throwing it to the ground and screaming while somebody videotaped her with their phone.
Right.
That's not, and she even spoke about it later. She's like, that was not my normal behavior. But this year has shown us ourselves, has put a mirror in front of our face. And like, one of the things I love what Rosie is saying, that self-care is not one size fit all. And so if you see yourself getting into a really, really kind of explosive feeling, that didn't start when she got into Target. She didn't turn into that when she got into Target. That started before.
Right.
And so then you have to take a look at yourself and say, what's happening within me and what can I do? What do I need right now? Some of us just need to go on a walk.
Yeah.
Some of us need to, I started running. I'm no runner, y'all. But now, I mean, that is one of the things that I feel like I kind of have to do. I literally was like, okay, my stress is so bad. I will put on my tennis shoes and run up the hill, because that's just something that, seems to be working. But it's really the whole idea of being willing to sit with yourself.
Yes.
And not just be distracted by, I have dishes that need to be cleaned, thereby taking the time away from thinking about myself and thinking about where my head is at, and thinking about where my mental health is right now. Or I need to clean the floor because I have a German Shepherd that sheds. And or there's nothing in my refrigerator except for some pot pies. Whatever needs to happen, for me to say, okay, I need a moment to sit with myself so that I can bring so that I can not just bring my best self to my family and to my community, but so that I can feel good about myself and feel good about my own, whatever my self-care may be, feel good about where I'm headed from here. It's challenging.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Kenya, that was freaking deep. That was deep. Thank you so much. But I love the conversation that's happening, right? And I do want to ask you, Nicolia, because we titled this episode, The Top 3 Ways to Relieve Stress During the Pandemic, right? So the first one that I have down is start with self. Essentially, a variation like start with yourself, start with the internal work. That's amazing. What would you say number 2 is? If you get out of the thousands of ways, but what would you say your top 3 are number two.
Yeah, number two for me is have a plan. Make a plan, have a plan, envision a plan, imagine a plan, have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Have the most salient things that you believe need to happen in a particular day written down and execute.
Yes.
You can even adding a line of how you will do it, what barriers might influence you not accomplishing said plan, and what you will do to overcome those barriers. And I mean, I limited to 3 things because we have 10,000 things that we do in the day. But what are the 3 that really need to happen to make this day amazing? To make this day, set this day up so that the next day things can happen the way they need to happen. So having some consistency and some thought and imagination, even meditation, if you will, Kenya, in the morning before you get out of bed, after you say your prayer or whatever it is that you do in the morning, imagine your day. What needs to happen today to make this an amazingly successful day? Once you do that and you write it down, notice what you need to do to be equipped to have those things done. That's incumbent upon us to figure out. And some days it's going to be as simple as cleaning a particular room because that's the room you're going to record in on the day of your show, right? That could be the thing. And it could be as big as, researching to find a painter for the house, or starting a project of cleaning the neighborhood. Whatever it is, how big, no matter how big or how small, you need a plan. So the plan and planning to execute in a particular day is what is key. I sleep in my workout gear the night before to make sure
no excuses.
Right.
On time in the morning. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The gym in the garage or the gym at the facility. I sleep in it. That's the kind of planning. And it's not to suggest that like I do everything well, but when I pick working out as my top 3 things that I really want to make happen today, I do all my energy goes towards making those things happen. And I have time and I can decipher my time and distribute my time in a manner that makes what I need to do successful.
I think that was very key. Our audience should re-listen it. If you're listening to the recording, go back to that last minute of what Miss Nicolia said. It's like thinking of the top 5 to 10 things that you want to execute in that day that's going to make you happy, that you enjoy, right? Sometimes we have a day full of things that we're not looking forward to, right? Whether it's going to work, whether it's interacting with certain people, we're like, ugh. And that creates stress in our life on a daily basis. And I think some people think that's the only reality that they can deal with, right? Is dealing with those stresses. Because I know when I was working in corporate America, I was at that point, right? I was like, damn, I got this job. It's paying and doing what I needed to do, but it's creating a lot of stress in my life. And that's where the eating for comfort and having those cocktails sometimes and doing all these different things to kind of avoid that stress that it was creating in my life until I addressed it. Addressing the stress in our life as well. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I not happy? Right? What can make me happy? Asking ourselves those questions and giving ourselves enough time to be able to answer those questions.
And those are scary questions to ask. Asking, a lot of people say, just sitting with yourself and asking yourself, why am I not happy? If you do that, then what happens is there's a responsibility on yourself to look at that and address. And that's so hard. That can be so hard. And so sometimes we shy away from that.
No, definitely do.
And I want to ask you, Nicolia, like this is good because I feel like as a race, like as a human race, like that's something that's really holding us back, like our lack of humility and our ability to see we all make mistakes. And I don't want to get, religious, spiritual, whatever you call it, but we're born into sin, meaning that we have sinful thoughts. We live in a sinful world, right? And most people are so unaware, right? And it really is because it's rooted in fear and a lack of understanding and having their whole life built on this identity, right? And I want to ask you, like in your work, what would you recommend to somebody who is afraid, who knows that they need to do some internal work, but they're afraid of what they're going to find? Like what What recommendation would you have for that?
So I happen to be a person who thoroughly enjoys therapy. So I'll just put that out there. That some of the frightening points in my life where I needed more guidance, I definitely sought the expertise and the support of a therapist. So that's me. For those who don't want to participate in traditional therapy, I would suggest one thing is finding ways to decompress in nature. And by nature, I mean something that you don't have to pay for. No, you don't have to pay anybody to take a walk. You can walk in a community. You might have to pay to get on a bus or to take a particular transit style to a location that will allow you to walk, but the parks are free and you can walk around. There are trails. Find some tangible things that you can do to decompress that don't cost you anything, so that money and other things are not a barrier to you actually doing these things when you find it necessary. Then you have to notice your tribe. You have to notice who you can trust, who you can talk to, who you can commune with, who are your people. Who can you trust with whatever it is that you're going through? And then you have to find safe people so that you can be open and honest and get honest feedback and talk and share. Because not communicating, as this was also in the balance episode, not holding things in. And the danger of holding things in and how it moves in our body, because our bodies keep score. Like, those things are not serving you. So finding a way to get them out. So taking those walks, jumping the rope, doing things, figuring out how you need to have your life be so that you are able to take care of yourself. And then talking, being in community. Sometimes even just listening in a listening circle is healing. To know that you're not alone, to know that other people are dealing with some of the same things that you might be challenged by, and to hear how they overcame it. So maybe you don't feel comfortable talking to them now, but you need to be engaged in a conversation that takes you out of yourself and out of here, where the little monkeys live, that tell you things that aren't exactly the truth, but they feed you a story. You got to get out of there some way, somehow. So if it's running up the hill, or if it's walking, or talking to a girlfriend, talking to a friend, talking to whomever. So go ahead.
I was going to say, so somebody that's dealing with certain things, right? Just like you said, being able to communicate those emotions and things that they're going through. Do you think it's always best to share it with a friend? Like, do you think friends can kind of sometimes tell you what you want to hear versus what you need to hear?
That is absolutely a possibility. Absolutely. And that is why it has taken many of us on this call. I dare not say, I know I'm not the oldest one here. Okay. It's taken us years to get to a place where we know who we can go to and who we can count on. I mean, think back to our dating days, because we all dated, right? There was one girl you might want to go to the movies with, one that you might be cool to take to dinner, and somebody else that you would want to take to the barbecue with your people.
Giving up the game.
Okay, so it's different people for different stuff, right? So the thing is, I might not talk to my mom about something that I might talk to one of my girlfriends about, or it's just knowing who's gonna hold the tenderness. And let me tell y'all this, because I know everybody does it. When you in the bank, and back when we went to the bank, you had a special situation with your account. You scanned those tellers. You looked at them. You saw how they were talking to people. You saw their body language and who was nurturing. And you like, I'm going to hug.
Right.
Same thing. We know who can hold the space for us. It's incumbent upon us to figure out who we want to tell or share whatever it is with. And yes, there's always room for things to get convoluted, to be changed, whatever. But you have to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, then pay a professional.
Yes.
Unless you can get it for free.
Yes.
Because
yes.
they're going to keep some notes, but they might not. They ain't going to go tell your friends.
Right.
Or tell you what you want to hear.
Trust is key. Trust is key. Because if you've got something going on and you want to tell a friend or talk to a friend, make sure that that friend is able to hold what you're trying to tell them or whatever you need from them. Make sure that person is equipped to handle whatever it is that you need to unload.
Absolutely.
You know, because we have lots of friends that are just there to have fun with. And then we have other, I know I certainly do, where you have other friends where you're like, I've got so much to get off of my chest right now. I pick you. I pick you. And I will tell, I've had that recently. I have a really close friend. She might even be watching right now, where I'll say, I need to unload this, you know, and I'm picking you because I think you can handle this, you know. And my cousin says that to me too. My cousin will call me sometimes and she'll say, I just need to vent and I just need you to listen, you know, because I'll be the first one to be like, well, I think you need to do this. No, you know, sometimes people don't need your stupid opinion. Sometimes people just need your ears, you know.
And you know what's the funny thing about it? Because as you speak it out to somebody else, you start to listen to what you say and come to realize the things that you need to tweak. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, they don't need to say anything. You just need to say it out loud and really listen to what you're saying. And you'd be like, oh shit, that's what I need to fix within myself. That was the whole purpose of saying it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And Kat, I want to ask you, because speaking as a man, I'm really thinking in my head, like, do I have a friend like that, like currently, right? Somebody that I can call and say, like, I need to vent right now. Have I ever had that? Right. And it's so interesting, just, you know, going back to the conversation I had with my wife about, you know, said literally, like, Nicolia, what you and your husband talk about, like, those are my wife and I's conversations, right? Like, find friends, find people to hang out with. And I'm like, who? I'm like, I'm cool here in the house with the Netflix and the popcorn. Like, I'm chilling, right? But I do want to ask you, Kat, like, how do you recharge? Like, can you relate more to Nicolia's experience of having like a group of friends, or is it more, I guess,
not necessarily a group of friends, but I do have my couple people that I can reach out and talk to and just have a conversation with, right? And just like Kenya said, me personally, not going for, I can go for a walk, but it's something about going on a bike ride for myself, right? Where I can just go on like a back road and just ride and just be in my own thoughts that help me relieve and get to certain issues that I might not want to share with anybody, right? Certain things that I have to dive within myself and kind of just sort through whatever's going on, right? And it just gives me the time to have those conversations with myself, because through my own personal healing experience, a lot of it has just been talking it out with myself and really just keep on asking deeper questions and wanting to get to the root, like wanting to be able to heal and not deal with certain things that I've dealt with in the past. But I think a person has to get to that point where they want to heal themselves.
Oh, yes.
Right. Trying to heal somebody that's not ready to be healed is going to be a revolving door. You're going to keep on having to learn the same lessons over and over again until you get tired, right? You get tired of certain things. And some people don't. Some people go a whole lifetime without learning certain particular lessons. And that's what they continue to do, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's all different for everybody.
That's good. That's good. I want to ask you, Nicole, we have about 10 minutes left, and I really like to get to tip number 3, but I have a question based off of what Kat asked. So I'm going to give you the power of choice between answering the question or giving us tip number 3 on 3 different ways.
I would love to.
We got the money round, y'all. The money round's coming.
Answer the question.
Answer the question. Outstanding. So the question that came into my mind when Kat was speaking about, you know, you can't heal somebody who doesn't want to be healed. You can't bring a horse to water and force it to drink, like same concept, right? So how do you identify somebody who is not ready to be healed versus like persistence, for example? Like a lot of men when they find their wife, they get turned down, right? Like people are just not like your wife is probably the one who's going to tell you she doesn't want to go to prom with you or go on a date with you, and you have to be like persistent to show that you're worthy, right? So how do you identify the line between persistence and like it might be time to like fold your cards, right? Like does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That's also quite a thought-provoking question. To channel my
We
inner
only have
teen.
10 minutes.
That
was like the whole episode right there.
Yeah, no kidding. Quezzy's like, squeeze that into 10 minutes, ma'am.
You know,
Work your magic.
that's definitely.
I know you can do it.
That's a loaded
we had
question.
you come on today.
It's a loaded question, and it's very circumstantial, depending on the two players. But what I will say is that in the pursuit of someone else, or the attention or the affection or whatever of another individual, you can start to determine when it's time to hang your hat on the hook by noticing when pursuing them goes against your inner values, goes against there's this inner way that our bodies, that our spirits feel and know. And you can tell when a girl, boy, she wants you to come, she wants you to call her. Boy, don't call me. It's a difference, right? And then when someone is berating you or belittling you or acting a certain way in front of their friends, or all of this stuff that just doesn't feel right. You know that in your spirit. You know it in your psyche. You know it in everything about you when you should stop pursuing an individual. And one great indicator is that they will start pursuing you for not pursuing them. And you then know that, like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? So that's games. We're not trying to play no games. We're not trying to play no games. People, when you meet someone and they are in a space, the aligned space that you are in, things just flow. Things just flow. And when it flows so smooth, you wonder, oh my goodness, what is happening here? This ain't the way it's supposed to go. Because it's just right. It's just right. And then you also know when you pressing too hard and it just ain't right. You get that feeling. So it's really back to owning what's inside of you. Noticing, being curious, as Kat just said, asking the questions of yourself. What is this? What is this about them that causes me to want to pursue them? But I'm going to give you a bonus. And the third concept is sleep, rest, rest the mind, rest the energy, slow it down, take some deep breaths, go to sleep, get you some rest. And you're better to everybody, especially that little 4-year-old who wants her hair done. She said, I can't go to school like this, Mama. That's what my daughter said.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday, right? But I was rested. You know what, Cole? You have to go to school so I can pick you out an afro or I can put it on the sides, but you will be going to school. So none of her antics affected me until after I dropped her off.
Right. Right.
She never come on me and pull me hair before. But anyways, the point is, rest gives us the tenacity to move forward and to be courageous and to conquer the top 3, top 5, or top 10 things on our list. Rest.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah. Huge. One of my challenges. And so that yes, it really is. My kid will come out of his bedroom and be like, you need to go to bed. And I'm all
just speaking to what Nicolia just said. It's one of those things, like if I go to bed and I wake up and a certain thought is still on my mind and it continues to be on my mind, just like the project Heal the Hood, right? It was one of those things that even when I go to sleep, I wake up, it was constantly on my mind. I'm like, man, okay, what am I supposed to be doing with this? What is this? What is this about? And how it's grown into a community event, a podcast, and everything else. continues to grow, right? And continues to be exciting. Just like Ms. Nicolia said, you got to be excited about these moments because who knows where it's going to continue to grow into, right? But if it's something that I go to sleep and forget about, then it was here, then it was gone, right? It didn't serve a purpose in my life. It was able just to relax and release, right? Release it from your body and just move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that's a perfect note to end on. So I would like to recap the 3 tips for the people who are skipping all the way to the end to see if we got to them. So the 3 tips that we got from Miss Nicolia Gooding on how to relieve stress during the pandemic or during stressful times in general is number 1, to start with self. So to start with your internal and work your way out, very, very profound. Number 2, to have a plan. So to pre-plan your day, she gave the example of wearing your gym clothes to bed, so you have no excuses when you wake up in the morning. That was amazing. And number 3 is probably the strongest and the most important, which is getting some rest. So get some sleep, get some rest, recharge, feel good in the morning, and you'll be able to handle whatever life throws at you. So is there anything that you would like to amend, Ms. Nicolia, or anything you'd like to add in closing before we wrap up for today?
I would just like to say thank you to the 3 of you again for having me on the show. I really enjoy your vibe and the topics that you tackle for the community, for yourselves, and for the world. Thank you for sharing yourself, and be on the lookout for my podcast, That Part with Nicolia. It will be launching at the end of the month because healed women, healed communities.
Come on.
Wow.
I need to see that T-shirt.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know. I want that T-shirt. I want that T-shirt.
Yeah, I see white and red. By the way, Nicolia, are you a Delta?
I am.
Oh, I knew it. It's just like a whole Delta aura. Through my screen.
She's got that Delta glow.
Yeah, that's amazing. Where'd you go to school?
I went to Howard.
Howard.
Actually, yes. Wow. I pledged in the Hayward Tri-City Alumni Chapter, though.
Wow, congratulations. Congratulations. The Delta were some of the coolest on my campus. But anyway, yeah, that was amazing. So should we turn it down, y'all? We good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go. Make sure that they know all your social media platforms, websites, all that stuff where they can find you. If they're looking, I don't know if you're doing personal coaching right now with anybody. If some of our viewers want to reach out to you for coaching, so give them all that information over there.
All right. So I can be reached right now. My website will be launching at the end of the month. That's NicoliaGooding.com. Currently, I can be reached at That Part with Nicolia, spelled out, at gmail.com. That Part with Nicolia at gmail.com. That Part is a podcast about women and relationships and how we're going to take over the world one woman at a time through healing. And I am on Spotify and also Apple Podcasts. So check me out. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Nicolia Gooding. That Part with Nicolia, you see that's my professional page. And I look forward to connecting with whoever wants to stay engaged in this conversation.
Wow.
Come on.
That was good. She's been practicing. That's fantastic. Well, my name is Kwesi Dreams. I work in finance, but mostly healing communities financially, which will branch out into wellness in every aspect you can imagine. But you can find me at Kwesi.dreams. That's at KWESI.dreams on Instagram, Kwesi on Facebook, on LinkedIn, wherever you need me to be, I'm there. What about you, Miss Kenny?
Well, y'all know me. I'm Ruby Envy on Instagram. I'm Kenya E. Asa MS on LinkedIn, Ruby Envy Twitter, Ruby Envy Facebook, and I am Ruby Envy on Clubhouse.
Ooh, Clubhouse. See, I haven't tapped into the Clubhouse audience yet.
Oh, we will. We definitely will.
So everybody that's looking to follow your man Cat, you can follow me on IG at CatFitness3, Cat Fitness on Facebook, and Cat Fitness on YouTube as well. My website is www.catfitnesswellnesscenter.com. If you're interested in strength and conditioning and losing weight, or just bettering your health overall, feel free to reach out to me and we can set up a consultation. Otherwise, thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of Anything Can Happen. I know y'all used to the Cat and Kwesi show, but we've rebranded. We've added Miss Kenya Asa as another amazing addition to the group.
Yeah.
So make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Same station. You can find us on the Heal the Hood podcast on Spotify. You can also find us on at Heal the Hood events on Instagram and Heal the Hood 2020 on IG as well. Is any last words you want to give them, Brother Kwesi?
No, that was one. I mean, y'all know where to find us every Tuesday, same place, same time, Pacific Standard. So tell your friends that's the only challenge. We provide you amazing guests with amazing knowledge like Miss Nicolia and so many others. And we have so much more value to bring you. All that we ask is you bring other people to receive the value. So I'm excited to see y'all and your friends next Tuesday, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Same time.
Yeah.
Same
So
and
make sure you hit that
Instagram,
like button, that share button, comment. Make sure you keep this thing going, y'all. Because
our new Instagram, right, is ACH,
yeah.
right? What is it? Tell us. What I forgot. AC, it's brand new, you guys. ACH
it's
what?
Brand new. It's brand new. Follow us on Instagram at ach.show. That's
ach.show.
ach.show.
Anything can happen, y'all.
Anything can happen. We're going to get the recap up there immediately.
All right. So make sure if you're watching this, make sure you hit that share button, that like, that comment, and also tell somebody to join the conversation next week, y'all. Enjoy the rest of y'all evening. We'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Peace.